Hey, what is up, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. Today we're settling it now, disc brake versus V brake. So as of the recent years, it's kind of been a debate whether V brake or disc brake is necessary in the BMX world. Over the last couple of years, there's been a couple bike frames that now sell their bikes complete. One being Haro now sells their blackout race frame and their race line with disc brake. I know DK Bicycles also just did that with their Zenith, and I believe GT might have been the first ones with their Speed Series frame that made a disc only bicycle. I think that DK and GT make disc only. I believe Haro does both. Don't fact check me on that. But yeah, I have my two bikes here. A race bike here that is equipped with disc, and then I have my spare bike, my sprint bike, that is equipped with V brake. So I thought it'd be a good opportunity to kind of go over the pros and cons of each and kind of what I felt. Obviously this information is not fact or checked, it's just my personal opinion, so take with it what you want. Here we have the Shimano XTR disc brake hooked up to an SS Ultra hub from Onyx. And so this is my race steed. This is the top of the line. I guess just what I prefer. So I would say that most of the cons have to do, or most of the pros have to do with maintenance, the grab, and then just race situations. So I'd say the pro of a disc brake is that you do not have to worry about your wheel true. You know, if you get into a specific spot or a specific race, say you come up short, your wheel comes out of true. On a disc brake, the only thing you have to worry about is making sure that your disc is true and not rubbing on your calipers or your whatever this is, your disc brake housing, whatever. So you don't have to worry about the side to side of your rim. It's been very easy to do gear changes when you swap your gear out. With the traditional V brake, you're gonna have to move your wheel back and forward with your chainstay because your chain's gonna be a different length. And then you have to move those pads back and forth with the rim to make sure that you know, your brakes aren't rubbing or your brakes are actually touching. With the disc brake, everything slides back with one and it all stays in the same exact position. So, you know, if I go and change my gear and move my wheel forward, the brake and the caliper alignment stays the exact same. The only thing I have to worry about now is the chain tension. Another thing that this is good for, especially with the industry going to carbon rims, I now run E6 carbon rims. On my race bike, my spare bike also has carbon rims that are some older Supercross ones. But I've actually had a scenario, or a friend has had a scenario, where the rubbing and the friction on the carbon rim has actually made the carbon break and it exploded. And so just that friction with these carbon rims, it's, like I said, it's kind of a newer progression. We've probably seen them in the last 3 or 4 years where people are really going to carbon because of the stiffness. And it is nice to not have to worry about brake friction, whether you're going from high speeds to low speeds, or just overall wear in the sun. You know, having your bike out in the sun isn't obviously the best for it anyways, but this is just an extra thing that I just don't have to worry about anymore. And then I would say another, or the last from this video, is just kind of going to be the ability for a different feel of the brake. I think there's a lot of customization. I don't really know if that's the right word, but for the disc brake, a lot of people have the stigma that the brakes will make you go over the front end of the bike. That's not really entirely true. They have different brakes, different pistons. Traditional mountain bikes are, I believe, 4 piston. This is only a 2 piston, so this thing grabs pretty much like a normal V brake. Obviously, like I said, there's other brakes, but you can adjust, you know, the lever further or even the lever closer to the grip, depending on what you like, and the pull is always the same. You know, with a V brake, if you have it further away from the rim, then the brakes are gonna grab less. If you have it closer to the rim, the brakes are gonna grab more. However, if your wheel's not true, then they're gonna rub. So I'd say that. And then then another thing that I just thought about actually is that they do make hydraulic and they also make cable. So a lot of people are go, oh, you know, disc brake, that's dumb because, you know, you gotta have a lot of maintenance, you gotta have all of the mineral oil and all that stuff. Well, they also make cable disc, which is pretty much the same harnessing and the same idea as the V-brake. However, it gives you those limitations with carbon rims, wheel alignment, brake alignment, and just overall adjustability. Okay, now for the cons. So the cons, I haven't ran into them yet, but I will say that these are probably a little bit harder to go untrue, but if the disc goes untrue, that is a problem. It's gonna rub in here and then you're kind of screwed. So I always travel with an extra disc. That might be an inconvenience to some people. I totally understand it. It is what it is. Then another thing, if you're running hydraulic disc, you know, you always have to come with the disc brake bleed kit, because if another rider crashes with you and this gets pulled out, or the airline messes up your line, and all of the mineral oil comes out, you know, then your brakes won't work. So I would say it's kind of a give and choose. If you like the high-end feeling of the disc or just a general idea of the disc, sometimes that's worth it to you. For me, it's worth it to me. I enjoy having the disc. I like the feel. I like that I don't have to worry about roughing up these rims or a side blowout from wear and tear. And disclaimer, I've never actually seen any E6 ones go. It was a different brand. I do like that. If you would like, this is a front rim that has a low profile. I could have opted to put 2 of the front rims on the back, which not only saves weight but also is lower profile. I chose to do this because in case I ran into any problems with the disc, I knew I could easily just throw the V-brakes back on and get back out on the track, because it's my first go with the disc brake setup. So those are the cons. All right, here we have my V-brake bike. So traditional V-brake, Shimano DXR. The pros to a V-brake are cost, convenience, and just not fixing what's not broken, right? So traditional, it's been like this forever. V-brakes are kind of the standard in BMX. If you run into problems with the V-brake, normally you just swap out a $8 cable, and you're back out there on the track. So for your everyday rider, beginner rider, or just a rider that doesn't really care about the performance of their brakes and just want to stop, I would say the V-brake is the way to go. You can equally make it as grabby and touchy, depending on how true your wheel is. If your wheel is really straight and really true, you can get your brakes feeling so good that it might even feel better than a disc. But with the slight chance that your wheel isn't perfectly straight, or you're going to be riding supercross, or hitting big jumps and your wheel might come out a little untrue, you're going to have to loosen and widen the gap between where your brakes can touch your rim, because if your rim's going side to side, you can't have your brake pad super close and aggressive, because then it will rub. Another thing that is nice, and this is obviously kind of why I'm making this video, because a lot of frames are actually going to disc only, is most frames like take V-brakes. I can't say the same about the disc. Not all frames can be disc brake compatible. A couple companies like Box and Avian and maybe Tangent are making conversion kits. You know, you're able to get a frame converted from what was standard V-brake to now disc brake, but not all bikes are like that. I haven't seen, you know, there's frames like S Squared that just now have made their frames disc compatible, but before they're V-brake only, obviously because it's the staple of BMX and BMX racing, that a lot of the frames just are compatible with V-brake and aren't with disc brake. So depending on, you know, what kind of rider you are, what kind of rider you want to be, you can't really go wrong. I will say the one race instance where I was very happy that I did have my disc brake, I was in Florida and then another race in Rock Hill when it started to rain. So when you do carbon rims in the rain, not only are you probably going to get a really loud squeak, but they obviously probably aren't going to grab very well because of the wetness and the friction. That makes it easy for you to slip and slide. So it wouldn't be a rare occurrence to where if you're going for a berm jump and you're racing in the rain and you didn't feel like you could make it and you pulled your brakes, you might not stop. And that's obviously not a very good feeling or very safe. So I will say disc brake has helped me there. And then another con, like I had explained a little bit earlier, if you're over time, you're probably gonna have to change out your carbon rims more often than you would with your disc. I will say it's probably not gonna be super common like fixing your tires. It'll probably be a 1 to 2 to 3 year difference where you'd have to get new carbon rims just after the wear and tear of the sidewalls. And that's just from use, and like I said, from the friction. You always have to make sure you're checking your rim fragments and making sure that everything is dialed with the carbon rims. Obviously, if you're doing the traditional old aluminum rims, you probably aren't going to run into any issues. Most of them make them pretty strong. Alienation is, you know, probably the top of the line there. But yeah, like I said a little bit earlier in the video, as the sport is kind of transitioning into more carbon fiber, and carbon fiber rims are kind of leading the way right now just because they're so stiff. You just have to be on the lookout when using V-brakes and just keeping up with all of your stuff. That's gonna do it for my debate on disc brake or carbon, or for disc brake or for V-brake. Please leave in the comments down below which one you have on your bike. Like I said, I just went to disc brake on this Haro. I've only been on for like a month or two, so I'm still pretty new to it. I am really enjoying the feel and how easy it is to change gears and change everything, but I'm obviously not opposed to the traditional V-brake that has been working for the last 30 plus years or however many years. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you guys like these types of videos where I kind of do some product testing, I can do bike checks on either or. I may go into a Tubolito 2 review or just anything in general. Please comment down below. Like I said, I'm trying to bust out these videos for you guys to give you some insight and keep you entertained. So you guys at the next Pro-Am in Lemoore. So stay tuned for that video. Peace.